So, good afternoon, friends, and once again we are meeting over here on the same platform with a new aphorism. So, we have started discussing about the organon of medicine, and we have finished first four aphorisms. We have learned all four aphorisms in depth, and we are turning towards the fifth aphorism today. Before going to it, or before going to this aphorism, we will just revise what we have learned. We have started with the organon, what is the name, what exactly it means, organon means. Then we have discussed about that why there are two words which are written over there as odes appear. Then in short we have learned the preface written by William Borick, then followed by James Cross introduction to the 6th edition, then Hahnemann's introduction to the 6th edition, and introduction written by Hahnemann taking the review about all systems of medicines. That in short a review about all those things we have discussed, and we have entered into the aphorisms, and we have in length discussed the first aphorism. We have learned the every aspect of first aphorism. So I have taught you that how to enter into the homeopathic philosophy by learning these aphorisms. Every word, how meaningful every word is there, and that's why we have discussed everything regarding the first aphorism. The physician's high and only mission is to restore the sick to health, to cure, as it is termed. Then second aphorism we have discussed, where he has defined that exactly what he means to be a cure. So highest ideal of cure is rapid, gentle restoration of the state of health, rapid, gentle, permanent restoration of the state of health, or removal or annihilation of the disease in its whole extent in the shortest, most reliable, most harmless way on easily comprehensible principle. Then third aphorism, again in detail we have discussed, because which is called to be a miniature of the organon of medicine and the qualities of homeopathic physician in order to achieve a cure. So he has mentioned there are certain qualities. He has mentioned in a proper manner the knowledge of disease, indication, the knowledge of medicinal properties and medicinal properties, the choice of the remedy, the medicine indicated, the proper dose, the repetition of the dose, and last point which he has highlighted over there is the obstacles in the process of recovery. And after finishing this, we have discussed in length again the fourth aphorism in detail, that he should likewise be the preserver of health if he knows the things that deranges the health. So this is in detail along with the footnote of first aphorism that we have learned earlier. Now we'll turn towards another practical aphorism from your organ of medicine, and that is the fifth aphorism. Every sentence of it carries a lot of meaning, because it is a hard work because of which Hahnemann have understood the concepts of diseases very clearly. So what he has mentioned earlier in the third aphorism, he should have knowledge of disease, and now he starts what is exactly meant by the knowledge of disease, and for that purpose he is writing over there the fifth aphorism, and he explains over there about the details about the causes of diseases. So we'll start with fifth aphorism. Useful to the physician in assisting him to cure are the particulars of the most probable exciting cause of the acute disease. See what he is explaining. What he is telling? Useful to the physician. कोणाला फिजिशियनला काय महत्त्वाचं आहे? इन असिस्टिंग हिम टू क्युअर आर द पर्टिक्युलर्स ऑफ मोस्ट प्रोबॅबल exciting cause of the acute disease. We define the exciting cause when we learn homeopathy, when we learn the organon, and we define it. The things which excites the disease is called as an exciting cause, and they are of different types: mechanical, physical, biological, chemical. All those things are. But this is not only important. What is important? In order to develop an acute disorder, this exciting factor plays a very vital role. So if you have a cases of the acute disease, generally they comes to you with a short description, because everything is cleared in their mind. They talks to you like this, डॉक्टर काल ना गाडीवर गेलो, एक 50-60 किलोमीटर प्रवास झाला, जोरात वारं लागलं आणि बघा ना मला ताप भरलाय, सर्दी आली. They gives you a causes, exciting factors behind there. Another patient comes to you, डॉक्टर सकाळपासून पोट बिघडलं एकदम, काल ना जरा बाहेर खाणं झालं हॉटेलमध्ये आणि हॉटेलमध्ये खाल्लं आणि तेव्हापासून पोट बिघडलं. ही इज गिव्हिंग यू द एक्साइटिंग कॉजेस बघा. अँड दीज आर व्हेरी इसेन्शियल टू फाइंड इट आउट अ रेमेडी. In acute disorders, generally of this first variety of acute disease, acute disease चे आपण प्रकार किती करतो? How many types are there? There are 4 types. First is called as individualist, second is called as sporadic, third is called as epidemic, and fourth is endemic. Out of which first 2, that is individual and sporadic, they generally depends upon the susceptibility of the human being, and some exciting factor is responsible to produce a disorder in them. They are generally in soric state very commonly, and their sora gets excited, the latent sora gets excited because of some exciting factor. It comes out, it explodes and it produces acute disorder. So generally these people individually suffers from certain common exciting factors. Sometimes patient comes that डॉक्टर 3-4 दिवस ना कामाची इतकी दगदग झाली ना, प्रचंड अंग दुखतंय, ताप आलाय, असे सांधे दुखतात, झोपावं असं वाटतं पण झोपलं तर खूप त्रास होतो, उलटं फिरलं तर बरं वाटतं. अँड यू सी दॅट यू ऑब्झर्व ओव्हर देअर टिपिकल फिवर ब्लिस्टर, शीन आलेलं आहे त्याला. ही हॅज गिवन यू एक्झॅक्टली व्हॉट ही मीन्स. ही इज गिव्हिंग यू द एक्साइटिंग कॉज which gives directly or which directly reflects you the remedy of the patient. This is very important. When you deal with the acutes, always finds it out what is exciting cause, what is the thing because of which patient comes to you. And number of times in such acutes you get very common causes, and which are there in your materia medica. Basically in keynotes, if you are very thorough with the keynotes, you catches them and you can prescribe for them, or you open your repertory, find it out those exciting causes, elements from such and such thing, and you can prescribe. Better clinical repertory is either Phatak's repertory or Borik's materia medica or Borik's repertory over there, which helps at that time. One more book I always suggest everyone, the Synoptic Keynotes by C.M. Boger. Synoptic keynotes, at the start only he has mentioned the action followed by modalities or elements from or causes are mentioned over there, and these are exciting factors which plays very vital role in the development of acute diseases. See, first sentence of this 5th aphorism guides you regarding the acute diseases, and what it guides you, it guides that there are always an exciting things which are responsible to produce acute disease. Now he goes ahead. So the most probable exciting cause of the acute disease, as also the most significant points in the whole history of a chronic disease, to enable him to discover its the fundamental cause, which is generally due to the chronic miasm. This part, understanding this part is very important thing. Every word from this remaining sentence is important. So what he says, as also the most significant points in the whole history of chronic disease. What do you understand by most significant points in the whole history of the chronic disease? When you are dealing with the patients, when you are dealing with the chronic diseases, what are the things which happens in the patient's life? You have to take history right from his birth till today, and you have to ask what is significant happens in your life. Here, how do you prepare your questions makes a lot of difference, so that you can get or you can acknowledge with the all the things of the patient. Generally, when I deals with chronic disorders or pathological disorders, my question I generally, when I want to understand the patient, I used to talk in this sense. First important thing, when I used to ask the question to the patient, जिथपासून आजाराची सुरुवात झाली तिथपासून काय काय आणि कसं कसं झालं, एव्हरीथिंग यू मेन्शन. मी पेशंटला आय यूज टू आस्क द पेशंट दॅट राईट फ्रॉम द स्टार्ट ऑफ द एलिमेंट explain me everything, every detail about your complaint in a chronological way, so that we can understand both the things, origin, duration and progress. Three things can be easily understood on the basis of this question. So regarding the disorder, when you have to ask the question, this is simple, that you have to ask simple thing, that you have to ask how the disease has been started, right from it till today, tell me everything. This is question in order to understand disease. Now, if you want to understand patient's nature, I never ask directly, tell me your nature or how is your nature. This will not guide you properly. So better question I used to find it out, that जिथपासून आठवतं तिथपासून आत्तापर्यंतचं आयुष्य कसं गेलं. म्हणजे फिमेल असेल तर त्यांच्या बाबतीत आय यूज टू आस्क राईट फ्रॉम द बर्थ टिल यू मॅरी अँड अगेन आफ्टर मॅरेज टिल टुडे, both the aspects I want in detail. This question gives you details about the all incidences happens in the patient's life. Number of times you get certain patient never tells you anything. Certain patient नाही छान गेलं. छान म्हणजे कसं गेलं? You understand what he has said, just a question, and again create your new questions on the basis of that answer. छान म्हणजे काय? There are certain patients who are taciturn, reserved, secretive. They never talks you, they never gives you the details. You get these rubrics from the patient. Those are also the rubrics. If patient is not talking, these are the rubrics we can catch from that. You should not get frustrated. In fact, that is the patient's nature. That is what you have to understand. But sometimes you get very clear-cut conditions. डॉक्टर तसं म्हटलं तर खूप हलाखीचं गेलं. इट वॉज व्हेरी डेंजरस. इट वॉज व्हेरी ट्रबलसम इन माय लाईफ. आय स्ट्रगल्ड अ लॉट. वेन आय वॉज चाइल्ड, देर वॉज अ प्रॉब्लेम ऑफ इवन 2 times eating, 2 times food. I never get a food properly number of times. So these are the things which happens to be there in patient's history and which are very important for your prescription. And that's why you have to understand everything. Sometimes they explain, doctor, I was very small. My father had died. The mother was there. She was struggling. And I have to start my work very early. I was in only 4th standard and I have started working for home members because I have 2 more sisters. So I was elder one and I have this responsibility since 5th standard. See, he is giving you everything. This is the incidence which guides you, that early responsibility. This is too important. Elements from early responsibility, that might be one of the things one must look for. So every incident, significant point in the whole history of chronic disease. कुठले significant points होते लाईफ मधले. So another question I generally ask to the patient at that level is that, tell me which were the happiest moments in your life. आत्तापर्यंतच्या आयुष्यातले सगळ्यात आनंदी प्रसंग कोणते? आनंदी आधी विचारायचे, दुःखी आधी विचारायचे नाही. Then you ask regarding the sad events. Which are the different sad events in your life? Most sad events. First ask regarding it and then ask what was your reaction at that time. त्याचा तुमच्यावर काय परिणाम झाला? So if patient details anything, any incidents in his life, if he explains that he has suffered a lot at that time, And he explains, doctor, I was nearly about 2 years, I was so depressed, I could not concentrate on anything. In fact, those were very dangerous, that was very dangerous period in my life. That guides you how the disease has produced, disease has evolved in this patient. This is in fact the dynamic pathophysiology behind the disease. This one should understand. So, when you are dealing with the patients, these are most important things, and that's why he says most significant points in the whole history of a chronic disease to enable him to discover its fundamental cause. Kashasati? To find it out the fundamental cause. And what is fundamental cause? Fundamental cause, generally we use SORA is the fundamental cause. But we ask what is SORA, then again problem arises. Number of times, number of students answers, sir, miasms are the fundamental cause. But what is that fundamental cause? What is there because of which the person has further progressed or his disorder is further progressed? What was that fundamental? So, number of times you can observe that there are disorders in the human economy. For example, a person is having a hypertension at the age of 30. You check everything and there is nothing, no, all pathological tests, they are normal. You ask him to go for a cardiac profile, lipid profile, everything, and everything is normal. But still he is having hypertension. In the past history, in the family history, there was no hypertension to parents, and still he carries the hypertension. What may be the reason? You have to ask to the patient what were the incidences which happened in your life. Can you detail? There are certain patients, they talks to you and they tell, sir, सांगितलंच पाहिजे का? Is it so necessary? See, this question, when patient questions in this manner, it reflects his mind. What it reflects? सांगितलंच पाहिजे का? What it means? It means he feels that whether it is necessary to share, he might be suspicious, he might be secretive, he wants to hide those, or he doesn't want to make it a public issue, and that's why he talks in this manner. If you say yes, if you are going to tell me exactly, I will find it out very perfect remedy. Your blood pressure will be vanished completely after giving a proper medicine. And then patient starts talking about their incidences. There might be any history, there might be any disappointment in the life, there might be any disappointment at the level of his ambition. Whether he has worked a lot, he was very ambitious, and there might be something happened regarding his ambition. So there are number of things, number of causes which you can get, which are responsible to first produce the functional symptoms and later on get converted into the at the level of physics, or later on to the pathological condition. See, this is what one has to understand, and these you can get if you properly ask the question to the patient. And for that purpose, he writes over there the most significant points in the whole history of the chronic disease to enable him to discover its fundamental cause, which is generally due to the chronic miasms. There are two things in the development of a disease. We carry the miasms right from our parents. Yes, the traits are there always. We never born absolutely healthy. We are born as a healthy, but miasms are there with you. You are not born without miasms. At birth, you are not amiasmatic. If you are at birth amiasmatic, there is no purpose of human life. This is too important to understand. There is no purpose of human life. Human life is there for you that to become to, or it is a voyage from miasmatic phase to amiasmatic phase. You have to go towards the amiasmatic phase in your life, and that can happen only with human life, and for that purpose you are born. So you are born definitely with the miasms, you are born with different types of doshas. वेगवेगळे दोष घेऊन आपण जन्माला येतो. There are a number of taints which are there, which are carried from parents, grandparents and their grandparents and so on. It is there with you, and you are in the state of relative health at that time. So miasms are carried, you are born, and what happens? It depends upon where do you have taken a birth. If you have taken a birth in a very proper home where there is everything is okay, there is no problem to struggle, everything is going on smoothly, and you develop as a different child over there. So in infancy you are taken care of properly, you have been cared so properly that your parents never allowed you to go outside. First time you go outside when you are in the KG, you enter over there in that school, and there there are number of students, there are number of colleagues at that time you meet, and now the reaction starts with the external world more than at the home. At home you are very careful, every care has been taken, and now there are reactions happen, and sometimes you get frightened. Why you have frightened? Because you have developed like that. See, miasm is imposed in this way. Day by day, hereditary tendency was there. There was the miasm with you. Now it has been developed in different situations and with different actions. In early childhood, it has been from parental control. If it is a joint family, it is a different reactions you can get over there, and you develop as a different child. If it is only a 3 people's family, father, mother and yourself, you will develop as a different child. When you enter into these KGs, at that time that environment produces its own effect on you. Then you go to the primary school, again there will be different company which affects and makes a change or affect your life. So evolution of the miasm at every step happens over there, and these are the different level. These are the levels where you can certain times you can get a certain things happens in your life. In the childhood, if you have been suddenly frightened because of some of the thing, something happened in your life and you have frightened a lot in childhood, that creates an impression in you, and because of which in future you are reacting in the for every situation in a different manner. That can create sometimes a disorder, that functional symptoms first, and later on if it remains again and again, or if you treat those functional symptoms with the help of some material medicines continuously, it later on changes to some pathology. So there are a number of incidences which happens in your life which are responsible to make a change from functional to a pathological level. And these are most important thing which one has to understand when dealing with the patient. And that's why your question should be formed very properly in order to understand all those things. And that's why you should ask like that right from the childhood till today, how was your life? Tell me every experience what you have experienced in life, every good as well as bad experience, and what it has produced or what change it has produced in you, so that you can acknowledge detailed history of the patient. You don't have to ask how is your nature or what's your nature, or you don't have to ask same question to their parents or their partners, that how is his nature. Such questions never gives or guides you anything, but a question properly formed can give you a lot of things which are essential for your prescription. So this is first part of this aphorism, that certain points which are necessary or which makes its impression in order to produce a chronic disease. Now, in order to investigate this chronic disease, in acute it's too simple. Acute disease मध्ये काय होतं? What happens in acute disease? Patient comes to you with very recent occurrences and everything is clear with the patient's mind. So you don't have to ask or provoke the patient to talk. Automatically, from the patient himself, you get everything and you can prescribe. You can reach to a similimum very easily. But when you are dealing with the chronic disease, so now he explains, in these investigations means what? In order to investigate a fundamental cause or a chronic cause, what are essential things? In order to investigate a fundamental cause, which are necessary points? And these necessary points are very, very, very important when you deal with the chronic disease. So see, in these investigations, the ascertainable physical constitution. First point in the history of the or when dealing with the chronic patient. Ascertainable म्हणजे काय? What is ascertainable? It is visible to you. Visible physical constitution of the patient. What is constitution? Well, he is saying physical constitution. He is not saying mental constitution. He is explaining over there only the physical. This is the way one should approach. This is simple way. This is my generally I used to study, I used to learn this in this manner only. What I used to find it out in a broader sense. So patient is sitting in front of me. I look towards him. What is his physical constitution? Whether he is averagely built, averagely nourished. Whether he is tall, slender, weak, emaciated. Whether he is short-statured. Whether his neck is short. Whether he is pot-bellied. Whether there is a emaciated neck. There are n number of things which are visible. N number of things. Only thing is that you must know their significance. This is too important to understand. So what one should look for is also an important point in chronic case taking. And out of which this first ascertainable physical constitution plays very vital role, and here you have to watch n number of things. I have written one dissertation on this when I have done MD for the British University. It's a way back, nearly about in 1997 I have done HMD course with the British University, and at that time I have taken that specific topic, that importance of observable rubrics in the Kent's repertory. And I have gone through every chapter what you can observe in the patient, so that you can easily find it out those things in your repertory. So ascertainable physical constitution is most simple way of looking toward the patient. Only thing is that with a proper mind, proper intellect, proper logic, so that it will be useful for you, or it will give hint or guides you towards the similimum. So only thing is that it doesn't mean that only physical constitution guides or gives you remedy. It is one part of the finding it out similimum. He is not saying that this is the only thing. It is one part of understanding the similimum, and which is visible, which is clear, which one can observe, and which if you observe properly you can get very clear idea about it. So ascertainable physical constitution मध्ये which are the things which you are going to look for? First important thing, the body constitution. Then you have to look right from the top to the head. What are the things which you can find it out? Some people have a good hair, some people don't have a hair, some people have a patches, a baldness, some patients have even you can look over there, they are not properly combed. Everything you can find it out just looking toward the patient, because it has a significance in your history. in finding the simile. So you have to look for all those things. You have to watch patients carefully. Then you have to see the face, countenance. Countenance is one of the part which guides you towards the certain thing. A sharp nose of a syphilitic miasm, or a typical knobby tip nose of a syphilitic miasm. A attitude of the face, which you can find it out. Then certain things, the Mongol patients, the slanting eyelashes, you can find it out. Dwarfishness you can judge on the basis of that. Then the body constitution you can find it out. Neck, whether it is very short, whether it is long, whether it is emaciated. You can look for the eyebrows, yes, whether they are joined eyebrows. Eyelashes, very important thing. Only thing is that you must find it out whether everything is real, because number of patients comes to you and they wear the, what you can see, they don't have hairs, they are absolutely don't have hairs, and they use a wig, and sometimes those people are generally psychotic people who you can find it out over there, because they want to hide they don't have hair. These are the things which you have to look for. Then second, the hair color. There are always nowadays there is a hobby of coloring the hairs, and you cannot find it out that if there are gray hairs, early graying of hairs, it has been colored. So that is also one of the things which you have to look for. Then the frowning, which you can see this on the faces of the patients, that is also part and parcel of body language, which is essential. So there are n number of things, right from the head to toes you can match, you can find it out, and that guides you towards the simile. So this is too important. This is homework for you, that you find it out what are the observable things which you can get in the repertory. What are the observable things which you can observe or get in your materia medica, so that guides you in a simple manner towards certain remedies. If you ask the patient to open the mouth and see the tongue also denotes a remedy number of times, and that's why there is a book, Tongue Never Lies, that denotes exactly what are the how are the tongue, what are the changes which are there in the tongue. Then the lips, then the face, then the neck, then the shoulders, everything is very important. Body, whether it is semi-dropsical, whether it is too short, whether the patients are having extra fingers. What is the significance of extra fingers? If patient is having 6 fingers or 6 toes, what it means? It means that it is definitely a congenital deformity. Any congenital deformity, I told on that day, explains you that miasmatic background, the syphilis plays a very vital role. So that is a syphilitic entity one should not forget. Any defect you have, patients comes to you with a cleft palate. Yes, very important. Again a syphilitic background, syphilitic miasm. Then sometimes there is plastic surgery which is done, but a small scar you can observe. You ask directly whether you had a problem at the birth, whether there was a cleft palate, and yes, when you get that, you immediately get this is the syphilitic miasm present at the time of birth. These are the things which are very, very, very essential in understanding the patient. So any scars on the body, yes, very important. Then you can go ahead. What is this scar? If you ask, then doctor सांगायचंच राहिलं, this is very, I had an operation. So you can get a history. So clinical examination of the patient guides you towards the ascertainable physical constitution of the patient. Patient is sitting in front of you like this. Yes, this is what is very important. Sometimes some patient comes and it looks like this. This is also has a significance. you have to find it out. What is that? Whether it is constitutional deformity, whether it is his posture, why he sits like that, why this type of attitude is there. So, see, one point, if you know properly, guides you towards number of things about the patient. Just keeping your eyes open guides you a lot. And this is what you have to find it out. There are a number of patients who are having lot of freckles. There are a number of patients, females comes to you with a typical chloasma, observable feature which guides you. There are a number of people who comes to you, as someone has said, the birthmarks, nevus, commonly that also indicates something. There are a number of times there are people who comes with crops of moles and you have only one remedy in your repertory. It is a carcinosin, crops of moles, number of moles over there. See, ascertainable physical constitution guides you regarding number of things. If there are also few things, if you open the ear chapter in repertory, hairs coming out from ear pinna, and you will have only one remedy mentioned over there. Remedy is thuja. See, these are the things one should never forget, one should not avoid, or one should not miss. Because if you understand what should be of what you can observe, then you can look towards those things. And for that purpose, this is the homework which you have to do. You have to find it out, all those things in your repertory. At least go with one chapter by chapter. Yes, this, whether this is observable, whether we can look for it. Even you look towards the nails of the patient, and there is good rubric in extremities. The different varieties of nails are mentioned. Nails guides you towards the remedy number of times. So make an habit of understanding patient at the broader sense first, and that is the ascertainable physical constitution. So I think this point is very clear with you, that ascertainable physical constitution guides you towards the simillimum. This is first point, but it never gives you a remedy. It is one part, one should keep it here in the mind. What is second? What he says, the ascertainable physical constitution of the patient, in bracket he says, especially when the disease is chronic. Not for acute disease, you should think of ascertainable physical constitution, very important. That's why he has given the caution over there. What he has mentioned? It is for the purpose of only chronic diseases, because in chronic diseases you are lacking the symptoms. Number of times there are very less symptoms. Number of times they are one-sided diseases with very less symptoms. And at that time, this is one thing which will guide you towards the simillimum. So, is it okay? Have you understood the first point in the investigations of a fundamental cause? Okay. Then we'll go ahead with the second part of the investigation. And two words he has utilized, very important, is moral and intellectual character. But that today we'll going to discuss. That is sufficient for today. Question is that first we'll discuss about the moral and then we'll go towards the intellectual. What is moral character and what is character? Characters means letters. Yes? No. Character म्हणजे काय? And moral character म्हणजे काय? These are the basic things which man himself have developed for the purpose of living in a soft manner, healthy manner, and they have created certain norms which are called as the social norms. And those social norms are developed in order to remain healthy, or in order to never get disturbed and everything remains very smoothly in the life. These social norms are very important for every human being. It has been taught generally when you are as a child, when you are in the learning phase. These are the normal norms which are explained to you by your parents, by at the level of preschool, at the level of school, at the level of higher secondary school, or at the level of college. You learn different types of norms, and with which you go ahead, to which we labeled by the name of moral norms, moral characters, on the basis of which you judge whether the patient is whether the person is good or bad. It depends upon that, because it has been imposed on you since birth. Generally what happens, we judge the patient on the basis of those norms. We judge everyone on the basis of those things. There are different words. Yes, मराठीत आपण त्याला चारित्र्य म्हणतो, मराठीत त्याला मूल्य म्हणतो, and there are number of words which are there, a number of things, but you have to understand exactly what it means. And another thing also I want to warn about it, that if you are judging on the basis of that, you are making little bit again a problem. So that is also you have to understand. Yes, those are social norms which are essential to remain healthy. But if you start judging the patient on the basis of that, if you are saying that patient is not good, that patient's nature is not good, that patient's nature is very good, but these are not only the things which will guide you what the patient is. You have to understand how he is as a person. Whether it is good or bad, you should not consider. You have to understand how exactly his nature is. So it is part and parcel of judgment for understanding, but at the same time, when you are considering those things, you have to judge according to your intellect. आता प्रश्न पडतो की पेशंटला व्हॉट क्वेश्चन यू विल आस्क द पेशंट सो दॅट यू कॅन जज हिज मोरल कॅरेक्टर. Anything? Anyone knows? What will throw a light upon his moral character? If you are discussing something with the patient, how can you judge that patient's moral character, it is good or bad? How you will understand what may be the problem, whether the patient is a good person or whether he is having a bad person? You cannot ask patient whether you are good or bad, and no one will going to tell you that he is bad. So ultimately you have to understand, it is part and parcel of judgment. So how can you understand? Basically, how do he behave with you during interview, during case taking? That is the first important thing. His behavior along with you during consultation. But sometimes it happens, he very nicely behaves with you, but when he is outside sitting in the waiting room, and he behaves very badly, rudely to your receptionist. This can be possible. There are n numbers of pros and cons which happens at that level, and that's why you should be very, very, very keen observer. You should observe, and that's why I suggest that video cameras always gives a lot of hint regarding the patient's behavior, because you can observe that they talks very loudly. You can watch over there on your video camera on the screen that his behavior, and that is his original behavior. Sometimes he hides it in front of you and you never understand, and that's why this moral character is judged at different levels. Then the tone with which he talks with you. Tone itself suggests the nature of the person, how polite he is. Sometimes it might be, even though it is psychotic, yes, it happens like psychotic, but the politeness also guides you towards the patient's understanding. So he talks, the way he talks with you, the way he utters the sentences. He comes, if he enters inside your room, you ask, what is your problem? And he starts commenting on other doctors. There are different varieties. I have one patient who talks like that. "Hey, doctor, to kya doctor hai ga, khadi ke." See, this is very important. He is giving you his nature with the help of his sentences. These are the most essential things in your cases, on the basis of which you can judge how this person is, what may be his nature is. You don't have to ask the question, you can judge. In fact, that is what is called as a perceiving. On that day we have you learned that word perceiving in the third aphorism. This is what you have to perceive. How he behaves with his children, with his colleagues, with his friends, that whoever comes along with him, that also you can find it out. And you can just immediately catch, perceive the nature. If you ask questions, how is your nature? Doctor, ekdam fantastic, best, I'm very much, I never gets angry. And he is sitting over there and he brought his child along with it, and he is doing something and he immediately cries over him, shouts on him. You can find it out, the reality. So, number of times when the patient is there in front of you, he behaves, the way he behaves guides you regarding the number of things. The second important thing, when you deal with the past history, family history of the patient, you ask number of questions and you ask it clearly, directly, so that you can understand his nature. Don't keep or don't consider that what patient will feel. If you consider like that, you will never get the perfect picture. For that purpose, it is necessary to act directly with the past history, family history. And sometimes some students say, "Sir, I feel awkward to ask. How can I ask regarding sexual thing?" No, it's if for what purpose you are asking it? You are asking those things in order to understand the nature of the person. At that time, there should not be any guilt in your mind, so that you can ask them clearly regarding those things. Sometimes you can ask in a different manner. If you feel the patient is from syphilitic miasm and he had different relations in his past life, and you have to ask the question, you can ask it directly either, or you can ask just in a different manner. You ask the patient whether you had any eruptions on your genitals before. If he says yes, that when this has happened, then sometimes patient gives you idea regarding that he had certain relations with prostitute and he suffered from such and such disorder. So these are the things with which you can understand the patient's nature, how each patient is. So these are most important thing one should not forget. His moral character plays very vital role in understanding the nature of the person, and that guides you towards proper remedy. So we have to find it out with different examples, with behavior, his tone of discussion, how do he talks, how do he converse with you. Everything matters a lot. How he sits, his posture is also important. The way he expresses, he sits like this and he talks. You understand what is the nature. This is too important. This is giving you idea regarding the patient's nature. And that's why one must give so much of importance to this point. His moral and intellectual character guides you in understanding the human being, best specifically if the disease is chronic. Moral and intellectual character. आता बघा, इंटेलेक्च्युअल कॅरेक्टर कसं कळणार? हा माणूस इंटेलेक्च्युअल आहे का? हाऊ कॅन यू अंडरस्टँड दॅट वेदर दिस पेशंट इज इंटेलेक्च्युअल और नॉट इंटेलेक्च्युअल? The way, so simple is that if you put a question, What is a common question you used to ask? You ask, what is your name? And patient behaves like this. The way you are there in the vivas. Examiner asks you questions, you look like this. Examiner again asks, do you know this? You look like this. It indicates the intellectual character. So if you ask a question, you have to understand why the patient is not answering. You have to think. Sometimes it might be possible that patient might be dumb. He is not answering. Sometimes patient might be a dwarf who is not understanding your question. That's why he is not answering. Sometimes patient doesn't know the language with which you are talking. He might be not answering. There are a number of reasons. It is not that patient is not answering, he is dwarfed. It's not so. You have to think. And this thinking guides you regarding the patient. If you put a question and he answers something else, not at all related with your question, that also guides you that patient is going in wrong direction because he is not understanding what you expect from him. That also guides you regarding his intellectual character. So, intellectual character gives identity of the individual. There are certain people who gives very good explanation. If you put a question and they answer in a very nice manner, you expect that it will be reflected in 1 or 2 sentences. Sometimes patient talks nearly about 5 minutes, 10 minutes regarding that question. And you get that for one question he answered in the similar manner. Again you put a question, again he has answered in the similar manner. You get a rubric, communicative, expansive. See, these are the things which you have to judge. This is very important in chronic case taking. So you have to go on watching patient intellectually, so that if you are intellectual, then you can judge the intellect of the other person. So first important thing is that you should be intellectual. That is basic criteria. And if you are so, then you can judge. And that guides you towards a certain things. Certain people takes a time to answer. You put a question and they sits like this, thinks over it, and then they start answering in a slow manner. So you can get directly answers reflects long in the patient. So all those things matters a lot in order to understand that specific human being. See, we are discussing, these are the different things with which you can understand the patient. You can understand the nature of the patient. These are the things which individualizes one patient from another patient. You take simple that rubric of answers and find it out there are different sub-rubrics under that answers, and you get different personalities of that patient. So simple questions you can get, or you can acknowledge the individuality of the next person. That's why Hahnemann explains over there all those points, that ascertainable physical constitution followed by his moral and intellectual character, so that with these 3 things you can understand a lot about the human nature. And ultimately what you have to find, you don't have to find a remedy for his disease, you have to find it a remedy for that individual. This remedy which you are going to get is the remedy which is based upon miasm, which is based upon his constitution, which is deep acting constitutional remedy, which will going to cure that patient. And that's why, see, Hahnemann have explained all those things in a thorough manner. So he has explained in acute disease it is only the exciting cause which is important generally, but in chronic disease they are caused because of chronic miasms. There are most significant points in the history of the patient, those are necessary. Along with these, if you want to investigate this chronic disease, first thing, ascertainable physical constitution of the patient, followed by his moral and intellectual character. These are the 3 things which are necessary to understand. These are first three things which we have discussed till today, which are necessary in order to understand this nature of the human being, so that you can do individualization. I think we'll stop over here, or we'll conclude over here, because there are other points which we'll discuss in tomorrow's lecture, and those are also important to understand the human nature. So every point is essential point which guides you to understand the human nature. One by one we'll understand all of them, most probably in tomorrow's lecture. If it is not gets finished tomorrow's lecture, we'll go ahead with day after tomorrow's lecture. I think everyone is happy understanding the things in a simple manner. Only thing I want to suggest that yes, there are a number of students who doesn't understand organon. They might be your friends. Tell them that this series is going on till there is lockdown period. So ask your friends to attend those lectures. If they are not online, they ask them to subscribe our channel. That is the Dr. Prasad Rasa, the Divine School of Homeopathy. Today I have uploaded one more video of Dr. Shishir Paranjpepe on YouTube channel. It's a video on Eupatorium purpuleatum. Very nicely he has explained over there. So go through that video on YouTube channel, and also those who have not yet subscribed for the channel, and we'll continue this daily activity at 2:30 without fail. If and only if I have any problem, then and then only there will be no lecture. But I don't think this will happen with me. So I will be there exactly at 2:30, and we'll learn again a lot of things regarding the organon. So are you happy? Yes. Thank you very much attending this lecture, and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time. Even though there is no message in your message box, I will be there at 2:30. Thanks once again, and be there tomorrow.